Hey, so this is finally that update that I was planning on giving y'all and wanting y'all's input on something. I think this is something I've talked about in the past, but I just kind of wanted to bring it up again, let you know that this is something I'm thinking about. I'd love your input, or if after this video you still need more clarification, let me know. But basically, one of the main difficulties that I have pretty much every year, which I think everyone has, this isn't something unique to Cinco, is just getting people to sign up for our summer stuff in a timely manner. It doesn't really make that big a difference when people are late signing up for a retreat or something like that, but with some of our bigger summer things, that does usually kind of impact things, and it makes things tough. So um, in the past, I've had very little problem getting people to commit to signing up for Nicaragua because they realize, well, they really, most students are really wanting to go and looking forward to it. Parents enjoy getting to be a part of it. Two, I think people grasp the seriousness of it and they realize, like, we've got to be on the ball about this because it requires important things to take place, like plane tickets, things like that. So that's never been a problem with Nicaragua. I have some problem with kids signing up for Camp of the Hills because usually lately our junior high numbers have been pretty small. And since it isn't as crucial, like for us to know the numbers right before, because it doesn't impact the amount of food we buy. Like if we're buying food for 190 people or 196 people, there's not really a big difference. So if a kid told me right before that they wanted to come, I'd probably cave in and let them come. And so it hasn't been as big of a problem with Camp of the Hills, but it is still something. But the number one thing that is difficult to get signups for on time is Camp Victory. First of all, I realized that it was a mistake quite a few years ago. It's not a really black and white issue, but I can for the most part say that I probably should have stuck with Forest Glen because because the kids were so invested in Forest Glen. And Forest Glen had its own sign up issues and problems that came with that, but slowly, I think our group is starting to have more students who really do love Camp Victory and are like, oh, I don't want to miss Camp Victory. I enjoy getting to go. But here are some of the reasons why it's difficult to manage it. It's hit or miss. If we'll have kids who sign up for multiple reasons, some kids who want to go might have summer vacation with their family that week. Some kids who, and then some kids, it's basically kind of the usual, oh, I would go to that as long as my friend's going to that. How many other kids are signed up for that? Then I might go to that. So I understand that. Also, another thing is I think parents feel like Camp Victory is really excessively expensive. And I think that's kind of a mistake to think that, mostly because any camp is really expensive, even the ones that aren't that great. And this camp is a really high quality camp in terms of the facilities and the activities you get to do and the food and all of that stuff. And so if anything, it's very affordable for how nice of a camp it is. And then kind of going along with that, I think most of our parents see that number of how much camp costs. And so they see like, whoa, this is really expensive, and have, very little interest in pushing their kids to go to camp. If their kid was begging them to come to camp, then they might do what, just like, we'll figure it out. We'll do what we need to do to get them to go. But otherwise, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, you're not dying to go to camp, or you're not that interested. Okay, well then I'm not gonna encourage you to go, because that saves me from having to pay that money. So anyway, one of the things about camp though is I do every year have to submit to camp, like right after camp finishes, the week after, I have to say whether or not we're going again, and I have to say how many numbers I'm expecting. So we are held accountable to bring that number. So anyway, I wanted to give you all that background info, but here's kind of the bottom line. The bottom line is that every year we have not a ton, but we have plenty of money in our missions budget to be able to do Camp of the Hills and Nicaragua. But we have very little. If anything, we go into the negative a little on our camp stuff every year. And that's been the case even with Forest Glen. My first year going to Forest Glen, we were super in the red on that. But the irony is that I've got the place where we've got all the extra money is the place where we have the most interest. And so it's less needed, whereas camp is the place where we don't have any reserves or anything like that because that's not how our budget's set up. But we every year are, needing more kids to be interested in going. So it's kind of a catch-22. So anyway, hopefully I explained that well. The real cost of camp that we have to pay is $425 a person. The real cost of Nicaragua is $1,500 a person-ish. It just depends on how much the airfare costs that year. And then the real cost of Camp of the Hills, there isn't really a real cost for Camp of the Hills because, like I said before, we're going to serve all the food for the kids, and so we're going to pay that much no matter what, and we don't have to pay any for a kid to stay in a dorm or something like that. So we try and charge a decent amount to help cover the cost of the food. So here, to help with my problem that I've listed out, the problem I kind of have two ideas, and they can kind of be mixed together, but in my mind, I see them as two separate things. The first idea is to do a thing where I bundle I bundle different summer things with a cheaper cost if you sign up for both. So like, for example, I was thinking, and this is probably what I would do, is like normally what we do is the cost for Nicaragua is around $1,000. And so it would be, if you want to go to Nicaragua, it's $1,000. But if you want to go to Nicaragua and Camp Victory, it is $1,100. So what that looks like to parents is, oh wow, that's really cheap camp, and they get to go to Nicaragua. But the way that we would cover that cost is I would make sure that the deposit I would say your deposit is $400 or $450, and that deposit would cover camp, and then this person would be expected to raise the rest for Nicaragua. And so between the auction and their fundraising, it would end up covering Nicaragua. I'm thinking of doing, if you wanted to just go to camp by itself, an early bird cost of $350 and a late rate of $400, or maybe an early bird of $300, late rate of $425, something like that. So in some ways, if parents see that, they see, oh wow, it's a lot cheaper to do Nicaragua and Camp Victory together. And then with Camp Victory and Camp of the Hills, I'm thinking every year that I've been here, Camp of the Hills has been $250 per person to go. If you're a high school volunteer, I only charge $100 to go. But it's been something like that. And my idea is, what if this year we say it's $425 to go to Camp Victory and Camp of the Hills together, and we make sure that that money goes towards camp to pay for their camp, and then the rest will come from auction and different things like that. And then if someone just wants to go to Camp of the Hills, it's $250. So I'm planning on sending with this email a breakdown of the prices that I just said, so that you can follow along while you're watching this video. And then, so that was one idea. And my other idea is to do something that is basically instead of calling the auction the Youth Missions Auction, we call it the Youth Summer Auction or something like that, basically implying this money that we raise will be going towards our mission trips, helping students go on our mission trips and to our summer camp. Personally, I don't like that idea as much because I think it'll be harder it just feels weird for me to say this is about making an impact on others, but we're also going to use it for our kids. Now, for me as a youth minister, I know the value of our kids going to camp, but a lot of people stereotype that camp is just fun and not anything serious, whereas I know the impact it has on people's lives long term. So maybe we do a bundle and we have the auction change the name. I'm still playing with that. So let me know your thoughts, and I appreciate you watching this. And send me an email or give me a call if you have any thoughts about this.